Welcome to lecture 38, templates and generics. So in the last class, we talked about template in C++ and the basic introduction on Java, right. So in Java, you call the same template as generics, right. So here what we do, we use the angle bracket, and in the angle bracket assume that let us have name of the class, right. So usually what we do, class name, and then we proceed. But here if you look, after class name you have the angle bracket and t, exactly like what we have studied in C++, right. So this you call it as generics in Java, and then when you are declaring, let us say, the variable, right, you call it as a member data or data member, t data, right, private t data. So suppose you want to use integer, t becomes integer, when you want to use character, t becomes character, and so on. These things you know, right. And then if you look at the constructor, right, one argument constructor, class name, data, which is t, right, and then data you are copying into this pointer, this dot data, and one member function you are finding, t get data, right, and it is returning data. So this is how the syntax works in Java, and you call this is an example for generics in Java. So now let us see this particular program, alright. So here you have the name of the class is container, alright. So container, and then you have the generic, right. So you call it as t, and you have a private data member value, right. So you have a private data member value, and here you have the generic, right, that is a type, and you have a constructor called container, alright. So you are, it is a one argument constructor, we will pass value, and this value will be copied properly when you use this dot value, otherwise it will be 0, right. The initial value will be there. If you are not, you are simply assume that you are returning value or something, or value equal to value, if you put, that is also wrong. So this dot value, we have seen this pointer, right, this dot value equal to value, and you have one member function, you call it as a method in Java, one method get value, that is returning value, get value return type is t, and you have another method called set value, correct. So you are going to pass one argument, right, pass one parameter, you have one argument, that is a method, set value method. So set value method, value is copying into this dot value, right. So you have main method here, so that means this is your container, is your driver class, right, container is your driver class. So now you have main, I am creating an object int container, right, integer container, you have a memory, you are allocating a memory, alright, and then you have the constructor called container is under class, alright. So I said generic, so you are using, right, the generic notation, generic syntax, and then 123 you are passing 123, alright. So when you are passing 123, we know that it is a integer, and in fact here you are writing container integer, right. So here it will call the constructor container, correct, it will call the constructor container, value is 123, this dot value 123 means, so value will get actual 123, that is the meaning, right, value is 123. And the second case, you have another object string container, right, first object is int container, second object is string container under container class, right. So you can have the generic is string here, generic is string here, allocating a memory, and here you have the constructor with the generic notation, and then the string is generics in Java, right, the string is nothing but generics in Java, fine. So you are passing this, that means now the second case t is becoming string, and value that you are passing generics in Java. So now the second case value is nothing but whatever string you passed, alright. So what string we have passed? Generics in Java, alright. So next we are printing system.out.println, you are printing integer value. So int container is invoking get value, alright, int container. So this object is invoking get value. So when it is invoking get value, value will be returned, alright, you know value is 123, right. So in this case we are getting 123 as the output, and in the second case the string container is invoking get value, we know that value is nothing but the string, right, the string is nothing but generics in Java. So the second case, the generics in Java will be printed, right. So generic in Java will be printed, right. So let us run the code, we will go to the Java console, yes. So, here you go, the same program, whatever I explain, the same program. So, the Java when you run, right. So, if you run the code, here you are seeing integer value is 123 and you are getting generics in Java, right. So, if you look, we are writing only, right, we have one class, right, the generic class, right, container T, and then when you are creating the objects. So, one is an integer object, another one is a string object, right, and then the constructor will be called, this one argument constructor, and accordingly the values are getting printed. So, you are seeing integer value 123, another one is string value generics in Java. I hope it is clear, it is not very difficult. So, similarly, like a template function we had seen in C++, right. So, here we call it as generic method, right. So, the same when you put the type name T we have written in C++. So, here what we do, so we use like this, right. So, I mean you can see over here, if you look at this particular line, so it is a method, the name of the method is print array, right, and then what you are doing public, you are using the generic syntax, then return type void. So, that means nothing will be returned, and then you have name of the method, and here you go T, that is a array. So, array you can use it as integer, double or character, string, whatever you want, right. So, T, and then you have a array notation, then array, right. So, now you have the for loop. So, you take T element, that means the base address of an array and the base address of an element will be same now, right. In the case of the identity hash map, Java it is identity hash map. Identity hash map of array and identity hash map of element is same now. So, when you are printing the complete array, that is the meaning over here. System.out.println element, when you print, right. So, you have to get the complete array, right. So, maybe we will take one example and I will explain in detail, right. So, let us consider the class generic printer, fine. So, now you have the method print array, alright. So, the method print array. So, you have an array and here you go the generic type, right, the generic type. So, whatever we are using, assume that we are using integer array, T will become integer. If you are using character or string, T will become string, okay. So, for T element, so whatever I have written in the previous slide, so system.out.println element, and then you are printing one blank space also, alright. So, as I told, this is for loop. So, T element colon array, the meaning is both identity hash map are same, identity hash maps are same, element and array, right. So, then you are printing element. So, the complete array will be printed and then you are printing one blank space. Now, your class is over here and line number 9 going to the main program, right. Here you are. So, your method is over, print array method is over here, not class is over. So, it is continuing, that means it is the driver class, generic printer is the driver class. So, now you have in the driver class you have main method, you are declaring let us say integer array, right, integer array notation, integer array is 1, 2, 3, 4. So, the name of the array is int array and the second one string array, right. So, name is string array, you have Java generics example, right. So, string array of 0 is Java, string array of 1 is generics and string array 2 is example. So, now what we do, we will call system.out.print integer array is getting printed, right. So, now we are calling print array is invoking by passing int array, alright. So, this is being called, int array is being called, right, print array is being called, you are passing int array, that means array is now becoming int array and T is nothing but integer, right, your T is nothing but integer now. And then you have array, correct. So, what is the array? 1, 2, 3, 4. So, T as I said integer. So, for integer element colon array, right. So, you are printing system.out.print element plus you are printing the blank space, right. So, that means we will expect 1, 2, 3, 4, right, 1 blank space 2 blank space 3 blank space 4, right. So, that will be printed. Similarly, when here you go system.out.print string array, right. So, print array string array. So, that means print array is again being called and you are passing string array. So, when you are passing string array, now your array is becoming, right, now your array is becoming string array, alright. And what is T? T is string, right? The complete T will be string. So, for string element colon array, so both are pointing to the same hash map, and system dot out dot print element plus blank space. So, what are the elements? Java blank space, generics blank space, and example blank space. Okay. So, let us see this program in the Java console. So, you can see the same program I explained. So, here you can look, when you have integer array, right, it is printing 1, 2, 3, 4, and a string array we are getting Java blank space, generics blank space, example, and also you will have a blank space. Okay. So, this is how your method is working. So, we have written only one method, print array. It is working for integer and string, exactly like what we had seen in C++. There you call it as template. So, here the generics will work like this. Okay. So, this is what I explained. So, now we will see one more method. So, we have to familiar with generic, right. So, we will take one example, generic method to find the maximum in Java, right. So, let us have class generic max finder, right. So, here we are using one syntax in line number 4, T extends comparable. So, the comparable is nothing but the interface, right. So, T is extending comparable. So, you can consider T, right. So, which is extending the interface comparable, again you are putting T, right. So, it is a inbuilt, comparable is a inbuilt. So, and then you have method called find max, right. You have a method called find max. Under this you have A, B, C, right. You have a data type T. So, T will take integer or double or character, right. So, that we know. So, now you are putting T max is equal to A, alright. So, the comparable we will have this compare to function, right, compare to method, that is the inbuilt, right, which is available in comparable, that is what we extends, right. So, we are making use of some of the methods. So, you can also write directly, but we are making use some of the methods. So, initially we assign, so A, B, C are given numbers. So, initially we put A is maximum, right, initially we will put A is maximum, right, and then you are comparing B dot compare to max greater than 0, right, B dot compare to max greater than 0, max will be equal to B, right. So, that means A and B you are comparing, right, the meaning is, so B minus A, right, B minus A if it is greater than 0. So, obviously what is the implication? B is greater than A. So, when B is greater than A, what you are saying? Max equal to B, that is what the logic we are writing, right. So, next you know max, right, you are keeping max. If it is not, max will be A, right, if it is not satisfying this inequality, if B minus A is less than 0, so B will be less than A. So, naturally A is maximum, right. So, this will hold. So, now again comparing this with C, right. So, whatever be the maximum, that will be compared, alright. So, if a max minus let us say C, which is greater than 0, correct. So, then max will be as it is, otherwise C is the maximum, right. So, here you go like this, C minus max, in fact the meaning here is C minus max greater than 0. So, C greater than max. So, C greater than max means max will be equal to C, that is the meaning. Okay. So, we found maximum. So, this is one way, or if you are not comfortable with using compare to, you can write the usual logic. Okay. So, now in the driver class you have a main method. So, main method you have arguments under string of array, right, you have arguments and string of array. So, system dot out dot println, we want maximum of 3, 5 and 4, alright. You are calling the method find max by passing 3, 5, 4. When you are passing 3, 5, 4, they are nothing but the integers. A is 3, B is 5 and C is 4. They are nothing but the integers, correct. So, they are nothing but the integers, and once it is becoming all T is becoming int, alright. So, you will have 3, 5, 4, A is 3, B is 5 and C is 4. So, according to this logic we know that maximum is 5, right. So, here you have to get the output 5, correct. And next one you want to find the characters, maximum of 3 characters A, Z and M, right. You are passing A, Z, M. So, we know the ASCII value of capital A is what? 65, right, and then it goes B, C, D, M, right, and then z. Obviously, here maximum is z, right. So, find out the ASCII value of z, and we know that obviously A, B, C, D when it goes z is the maximum. So, when you do the same logic, you are passing, now T is nothing but what? Character. All the T is becoming character, and then right how it is finding? It is finding based on the ASCII value. So, comparison will be made based on the ASCII value. So, we know that in that case Z will be maximum, right. One output we will get 5, another output we will get Z. Okay. So, let us see, let us run this code. Yes, this is what I explained. So, you can see that maximum of 354 is 5 after running the code, and maximum of A Z M is Z, right. I hope it is clear for everyone, right. So, this is what I explained, right. So, this is for your reference, you can again see that, right, and then you can find the maximum of 3 integers and 3 characters. So, now we will see one more example, swapping of let us say 2 elements, right, in an array, 2 positions, right. So, swapping of 2 elements or positions, both are same, 2 elements in an array, alright. So, let us have generic swap as the class, let us have generic swapper as the class, in fact it is a driver class, and I have one swap method, alright. So, you have generic notation, here we are going to use the array of T, alright. So, T may become integer or double or character, right. So, you have an array and then you are passing index 1 and index 2. So, which index you want to swap, right. So, those indices are nothing but which indices have to be swapped, that is the meaning. So, let us consider temporary variable. So, array of index 1 you put temp, and then array of index 2 you put array of index 1, and temp will go to index 2, right, array of index 2. This is what the swap, the usual swap program, right. So, assume that all of you know swap, correct. So, now we will go to the main method, right. So, this is inside the driver class generic swapper, and here you go, alright. So, I am creating integer array, you call it as an int array, right. So, integer array of integers, and int array you have 1 2 3 4, alright, int array you have 1 2 3 4, and swap you are passing int array 0 and 3, right, the 0th index and 3rd index. So, which is 0th index? This is 0th index 1, this is 2 and this is 3, 0th index, 1st index, 2nd index and 3rd index, alright. So, I am passing this int array, complete array will be passed and the indices are 0 and 3. So, that means 1 and 4 should be swapped, position should be swapped, right. So, this will happen, right, these all become an integer array, you are passing index 1 as 0, index 2 as 3, and then right. So, here you have array of index 1 is nothing but 0, right, array of 0 is 1 and array of 3 is 4. So, you are swapping these two, right. So, you are calling the swap method, int array is being passed, that means identity hash map of int array is being passed, and the 0th index you are passing, 3rd index you are passing. So, 0 and 3rd index will be swapped. So, once it is swapped, right, now you are printing the arrays is invoking, right, arrays is invoking, you are already having java.utility.arrays to string, alright, and then you are printing the integer array, right, you are completely printing this integer array, alright. So, now what will happen? Output is 4, 2, 3 and 1, this is the output we will get, we will see, right. So, similarly, you have a array of strings, right, array of strings. So, in the previous case what will happen to T? T is integer, right, T is integer array, and in this case you are using string, right. So, when I am calling this particular method, this T will become string, right. So, you have string array you have A, B, C, D, right. So, that is nothing but 0, 1, 2 and 3. So, now the question is, when you are passing, I mean to say when you are calling this swap, passing str array, right, the base address you call in C++, here you call it as identity hash map in Java, you are passing index 1 and index 2, right, index 1 is what? B and index 2 is what? C. So, now all T will become string, right, all t will become string and then you are swapping. So, you will get, so 1 and 2 when you swap you have to get the output A, C, B and D, A, C, B and D. Okay. So, these are the two output we will get. So, now what we will do, we will go to the program and run it, right. So, this is the one I explained. So, when you run the code, so what we have seen 4, 2, 3, 1, you can see that, right. The first one is right, 4, 2, 3, 1, and the second one we will go to the Eclipse again, A, C, B, D, right. So, what did I write? A, C, B, D, right. I hope it is clear and you understood, and this is for your reference whatever I have explained. So, you can go through this. So, now we will see one more generic method, right. So, we will see one more generic method. So, that will be counting the occurrences of element in an array, right. So, here you go count occurrences as a method, right. Array of t, right, we know this is a generic and you are having one element you are passing. For example, I have array of let us say 100 elements and I am passing how many times 2 is occurring or how many times 10 is occurring, that element you are passing, right. So, now count 0. So, you can write whatever way you want, this is one of the ways. So, I am using this for loop, right, t item, that means the identity hash map of item and array are same now, and then if I am calling one method item dot equals element. So, that means in an array if I call this function whatever number, assume that I pass 2. So, it is checking starting from array 0 to array n minus 1, it is checking whether it is equal to 2. So, if it is true, count will be incremented by 1, initially count is 0, count will be incremented by 1, right, and then what you are doing, return count. So, now we will see what are all the arrays we are going to consider, right. So, we consider one is integer array, right. So, integer array you have 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, right. So, now what we are doing, we are calling the method count occurrences, right, count occurrences, passing int array the identity hash map, right, it is an integer array and you are passing 2, element is 2, right. So, now what will happen, t is becoming integer, capital T is nothing but integer now. So, now what we have to do, we are passing element 2, right. So, the element is nothing but 2. So, now it is checking how many times. So, first time it is seeing 1 is not equal to 2, second time 2 equal to 2, then count will become 1, right. So, 3 not equal to 2, 2, right. So, count will become 2 and when it comes here count will become 3. So, here I have to get the output 3. Now, next case it is becoming string, right. So, string array, we have string array, what are those there, apple, banana, apple, cherry, and then you are calling the method count occurrences. So, you are passing the identity hash map of string array str array and now the element is apple, it is a string array. So, the meaning is the t will become string and the element is nothing but apple, right, element is nothing but apple. So, it will be counting, right. So, initially first one is apple, count will become 1, right, and banana, it is not equal, third one is apples 2. So, here I have to get the output 2, right. So, when we run the code, so here you have 2 is appearing 3 times. So, that is what I said, 2 is appearing 3 times and here occurrences of apple is appearing 2 times, right. So, what did he write? 2 times, right. So, this is how the generic method is working. We will see one more program, calculating mean using generics in Java, right. How do you calculate the mean? Mean we know, suppose array of elements are given, add everything divided by the number of numbers, okay. So, now again we are using the extents, right, and then we are using the superclass number, superclass or you can say interface, right, number. So, public static t extends number, right, and you have mean method, correct, and then return type is double, you have array of numbers whose data type is t, t is the generic t, and what you are doing, double sum is equal to 0 and for, right, t, now number and numbers, right, both are pointing to the same location, you can say that both are same identity hash map and the sum is equal to sum plus num dot, right. Now, it is becoming num, suppose I have array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, elements, right. So, now num dot double value. So, num, now it is num, right, num double value, first double value 1. So, sum is equal to sum plus this. So, 0 plus 1, now sum is 1, right. Next one is 2. So, like this it goes, that is what it is indicating. So, num is invoking double value from the interface or superclass number, alright. So, line number 7 it is returning sum divided by numbers dot length. Anyway, I can use it, make use of numbers, how many number of elements. So, that will give you the length, okay. So, this is nothing but the mean, right, this is nothing but the mean. So, now you have int numbers, right, now you have int numbers whose array is integer, right, whose array is integer, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, that means t is now becoming integer, your t is nothing but the integer, right. So, numbers, correct. So, t is nothing but the integer, and here when you have a double, t will become double. So, when it is becoming, assume that you are calling the method, assume that you are calling the method mean, right, you are passing int numbers. So, int numbers is nothing but integer, t is becoming integer, right. So, t is becoming integer, and then right you are doing a sum of, so it will do sum and then sum divided by 5, right. So, whatever be the sum which will be divided by 5 will be returned here, right. So, next one is a double, right. So, mean is calling double numbers, right, passing double numbers, you are calling mean by passing double numbers. Double numbers are nothing but 1.5, 2.5, 3.5 and 4.5, alright. So, now your t is nothing but double, alright. So, rest is similar, alright, 1.5 will added with 2.5, then 3.5, then 4.5, and the length you can see which is nothing but 4 divided by 4, right. So, let us see this code. So, when you run the code, yes, first you are getting 3 as average, right, mean, right, you can see that 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, right, 15 by 5, 15 by 5 is 3, and similarly when you add this you should get 15.0, yeah, 4 elements 12.0, yes, it will be 12.0, 12.0 when you are dividing by 4 it will be 3.0. So, that is how it is calculating the mean. So, up to here we have seen, right. So, now you are mostly familiar with this generic method and generic class, and in the next class we will see some more program on Java, and I will introduce Python, okay. So, in Python also we can talk about generics, we will have a little bit of Python and then we will talk about the generics in Python. Thank you.